Good day, Resistance, and good evening for those that are on another time zone. I first wanted to start the show off by mentioning the sustainer of all things, the Most High, who's above all names, all numbers, and all shapes. And I want to ask everyone first to allow me to catch my breath. I had just figured out that I was missing a piece to the equipment here, and I guess we'll just deal with that at another moment. But today's show is really like nothing else. In fact, I want to let everyone know, because sometimes we have issues with the connection and things like that, but what we're doing is we're recording the show so that we'll have a high-quality copy available for everyone on the site once the show is over, so they can hear things a lot more clearly. And we're also videoing the show from where I'm located at now, which is beautiful Costa Rica. And what this is about continuously going to the next level. See, the resistance, from my perspective, because I use two different perspectives when I view the resistance. I view myself as a member of the resistance, and then I view myself as the developer of the resistance. And there's two different perspectives, because I have to understand what people are looking at. I have to understand exactly where they are. And sometimes my mind is very far out in exploring different planes and things of this nature. And when I bring the information from what I've discovered back to this plane, sometimes the translation in itself, it takes some time to actually get it through. The situation that's taking place here on Earth, we are very well aware of, and I'm speaking in terms of we as far as those that I converse with. We are working as much as we can to make sure that that information reaches everyone, and that's what we're doing most of the time. But information is coming in so fast, as you'll see with today's show. What you're going to know, first of all, because I've had to write down so much to make sure nothing was skipped, because just so much information has been coming in. You'll notice also that I may skip around to certain things, and that's why this, and it may lose you for a moment, and that's why this show is being recorded, because you can go back and listen to it, and things that may not make sense now will make sense later. So as I would say, don't think about what you don't understand. What do they say? They say, well, I guess that's like if we're trying to quote someone else. But basically what they say is, don't concentrate on what you don't know, concentrate on what you will know. So from that point, we'll start off with this. This is the beginning of the year as of March the 20th. All the different December things and that being the beginning of the year is all, again, a part of the deception, and it's even deeper than that just being the solar calendar. But we'll just go with this, that March the 20th is the beginning of the year, and this is why. On March the 20th, what takes place is what's called the choosing of the Esoteric. And this word terms to us Easter. And this word is actually an ancient word, and it refers to Astarte, which is where we also get our word star from, which is Ashtoreth, which is Venus. So I'll show you again how all this ties in. If anyone has any questions about what I'm bringing forth here, especially about Venus, there is a book called Venus Revealed, which I'll get the author, but this book is not an esoteric book. It's actually a scientific book, and it only has one small section from what all of these scientists had discovered as far as the different names of the same planet. So they were able to associate all these names with the same planetary system. So on March the 20th, which is the turn of the equinox, there's a scenario that takes place. And that scenario is, actually, let me put it this way. This scenario is about portals that open at certain points, because the Earth is like a giant clock. And when these portals open, there is, by the elite, a choosing of the energy that they want to come through these portals. And we happen to be, in human history, on the brink of one. Although I personally don't believe this happens every 26,000 years. I actually believe it happens within the span of a lifetime, that each lifetime of an individual that's conscious, there be a portal opening. And so what happens is that what they do at this point is depend upon the energy and what's being worshipped and who won and all the different demographics and things that they're involved with. What happens is that they choose based on how they shift the Earth to the pole star. Ancient books record that in Egypt that the pyramids themselves were not pointed towards the pole star, the pole star Sirius, which is pointed to now. Before then, it was pointed, I believe they said, to Cephas or Canis or another star system. But basically, when you see what's happening now with the shifting of the Earth, this is what we know, because I'm fully remembered, which I'm doing that for everyone. I will be fully remembering you tonight. This show is I call it inner activation show. What I'm sending out through my frequency is what is to activate a person consciously, is to wake them up. Pull a person out of the matrix. I will pull you out of the matrix. But it's not like the movie. In fact, the movie is designed as a lot of awakening for different things, but it also was heavy coated with garbage and things that we actually have to get rid of now. And I'll talk about that. I'll talk about the computer. And you just have to, some will remind me that I need to get back to the difference between the computer we're using versus the emulation of this above, meaning that when this technology was given to us, the being in which that gave us this technology had a much larger version or much stronger version of the same technology. So getting back into, or getting forward into this communion that goes on between this Earth and a few of its representatives and the stars, as they call themselves. And I've now narrowed this down to what's called jovial planets. Jove being, J, of course, is a backwards L with a curve. And if you understand sacred geometry a little bit, or unsacred geometry, as I call it, you understand the difference between a straight line and a curve. So you got the Jove planets, which are Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus. So these planets are known as the jovial planets. And if you notice, when you're reading your ancient texts and things, you'll notice that these planets seem to be the most active, except for one that always is hidden, and that's really the secret behind Uranus. So we'll get right into that. That's what I'm going to do. Instead of attempting to structure this program, I'm just going to go straight from my mind. Uranus. Now, this planet is spinning sideways. It's sidereal, meaning that our planet is spinning in one direction, and all the planets in the solar system are spinning from east to west, accordingly. However, we have one planet that is spinning north to south, and this planet is called Uranus. Now, in Uranus, first of all, the name, this is Chaldea. An, this is the Anunnaki. Us, this is Zu. And I'll show you how Zu and us actually connect, because it's really, you have to be able to cipher the word or spin the word. So it's Su, which is also the code of Isu. Also why the U.S. is called the U.S. or us. And so at Uranus, on this planet, they are on a sidereal time. And this is what allows the beings that are on this planet to interact with our planet, what we would call instantly. Because if you look at our planet from a left and right, and then look at them from a up and down, you can see a person from up and down can easily dip into your reality that's moving left and right. And in the event that these individuals that are on planets like ours want to communicate with these type of planets and systems that are moving on sidereal time, they look up. So they look down. And so what you see going on is that the perspective in which that we're on here on this planet right now is stuck on the ground and upside down. And that's just scientific fact. However, this has been done in an instance where there's something going on. There was a plan on the planet. Now, first of all, our soul is an aerial type being, a gaseous being, meaning it flies, but the body doesn't. So if you start examining closely and putting things together while one is playing in the rabbit hole, and I'll explain to you again how Astarte and Easter and down the rabbit hole, which is a fertility god, is what that's really all about. But when you look up into the sky and you imagine that where you need to go is up there, or some who are the inverted who feel like that what they need and what to go with is below, and one's looking everywhere but inside, there's going to be a situation that takes place. Now, who is responsible for handling this type of situation? Meaning that the control system that's put in place, they only can delude people if they tell you there's not one. If they say, oh, it's all okay, it's all love and light, it will be over soon, someone's coming to save us all, all we have to do is continue to love, it will end. We've been buying that story for how many years? Hundreds, thousands of years. This story continues to go across to people who are inherently passive. Meaning that the humanoid being, because it carries no poison, is inherently passive. And let me explain this to you. There are beings here on earth, creatures, animals, because everything here is alive and it is conscious to a certain degree if you understand how to communicate with it. So if you're looking at a snake is carrying poison. But a human being carries no poison. In fact, if a human being wants to do something, if it just have a raw, naked human, going to be able to do is bite something with their filed down teeth. So anybody that attempts to go at this system with the same way they do things, through war and through fighting and through all this type of stuff, through war and physical war and that type of nature, will not win. Because we're inside, we've been encased inside of something with limited potential. However, more potential in which it's being used for, meaning that the body can bend the rules of the matrix once it's turned on. I will say one thing right now. This show is not for individuals that are still seeking and still searching and wondering if they're going to do anything. That time's over. We told you to stop eating the meat. The meat is cloned. What happened was that if you look at Incorporated, when they went to tag meat that was cloned because they felt that people should know that the meat was being cloned. So they passed this bill to allow for these manufacturers of this kind of meat to have to put this sticker on the meat so you would know you were eating a clone. Then Arnold Schwarzenegger vetoed it, so you never even saw it. Mr. Clone himself. So what we're looking at here is you are what you eat. We told them, stay away from the sugar. It's one molecule off crack. It wasn't even something that was really being used for a long time. It's cane. Imagine how something has the name of something that already has such a name for itself, cane. Stay away from the fluoride. Stop watching the TV. You're getting programmed by, at this point, from what's been revealed, grays that can't come on this dimension but only can travel through the TV with those big eyes. Stop drinking alcohol. You're 70% water almost, and you put alcohol in your body, and then it sucks all of the water out of your body. And then some people get a little silly. Well, I'll just drink water and then drink. See, what happens here is that when one is not following these rules, none of this is going to make sense. For a moment it will, then there will be a regression. And then what happens is a program activates, and I call this the crucifixion program. Because the program that, especially most people in the United States, are raised in any type of Catholic environment with those bells ringing everywhere, Baal, the son of God, as he calls himself, Baal, because these beings have frequencies that they use. If one is hearing these frequencies since they were a child, there's going to be a level of programming that's there. You might as well admit it. And what this program does is it immediately triggers what? Jesus on the cross. Now imagine, here's a religion in itself that the model or the actual icon for the religion is a bleeding man on a cross, not the resurrected version. That is the signal that they want to send. So when the Christian program activates, the person is looking for a Christ-like figure so they can crucify them. I tell you the truth right now, there are individuals out right in the esoteric world that are holding many people hostage in this host age. And now, at this point, because of the commission in which I've been given, either you merge with what's happening here and what we need to come together on so we can deal with this demon, Lucifer, and get rid of him and the rest of his juntas, or I'm coming at you. Because the people have to be let go. They have to understand completely what's going on, and it's time for that. There is someone here that knows. This is not my information, so let me explain to you how I came about it. I was always devout about what I do. I was always there, involved with whatever I was actually believing in, and I was serious about it. So when I went into Christianity, I went into Gnosticism and discovered what was there. When I went into Islam, I ended up in Sufism, and then I discovered what was there. When I went into Nawabu, which was the first to introduce the Anunnaki cult from the cult, the mysterious cult of Anan, I was there with the children that were left behind after that got hurt and things like that, because these individuals, these men, keep bringing these beings from other dimensions and bringing them into something in which they don't do anything but corrupt and kill and torture. And the reason why we're here, we'll get to in a moment. So the cult of Amun. It's one of the most hidden cults, period. Now, Dr. Zachariah Sitchin was the person to come and introduce the world to the Anunnaki writings and Sumerian texts, which I'm still yet to pretty much verify because I can't read triangles very well. Now, because if you look at their language, it's nothing but triangles and arrows. So here's what we got. His brother, Amnon, worked for JPL, which is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. The same place for Jack Parsons, the same place the Babylonian child was raised, the same place that's been opening up the portals, the same place that's been building all the nuclear weapons, the same place that's been making all these devices, and these are neo-Nazis. Now, I'll explain this one thing, so I'll pause for a moment. Many people say, geez, you know, this is pretty big. How can we take something like this down? Watch. Because I can actually do this myself. And what I'm doing is I'm inviting others to come and get involved so that they can see what the results will be on this dimension once we rid this thing that's already on its last leg. Now, let me explain to you why we have to do it. Because it is the sins of our fathers and forefathers and mothers and all of that, high father, high mother, that broke certain parts of the dimension, bringing these beings here and their curiosity. So it's only right that if we evoked a red dragon and a black dragon, we need to put them away. But now we have kids that are 3, 4, 5 that are going to have to live in a world in a moment, and so that's the least that we owe them. We don't owe them some philosophical mind state that we've given ourselves to believe that the balance really is absolute evil can be here because absolute good is here, and they can continue to do what they do. It's not happening. Now, as you see on the crest of the Queen of England, it says, the great red dragon I'm Dutch, meaning the great red dragon I serve. Okay, who is the red dragon? Now, the red dragon is Lilith. There was known to be, Lilith is another name for Venus, there was known to be a darker feminine form that had manifested itself here on Earth as a red dragon. And as its mate, took a black dragon called Samael. And this is exactly the reason why red and black, as I've highlighted in some of the videos, is always worn by the elite, especially when they're going through some of their synchromistic rituals. So going on, let me get into the actual message. Although we are deeply into something, we'll go into once again back to Uranus, the side real time. So what's happening here is that the pyramid itself is a time device. 51.51 on the measurement of the triangles on the pyramid, which is still different than the standard measurement on a triangle, meaning that the pyramid is actually squashed. What is this about? What this is about is this geometric shape is what's responsible for giving us 24 hours, which is all a derivative of 6. Even 51.51 from a numerical and grammatic standpoint, you would just take 51 and get 6.6, which would be 12. Now, a 6 is a G. That is why there's a G in the middle of the masonry logo. And that G, as many people keep messing it up, geometry and all these things, it means gravity. There's 6 faces on a cube. Gravity brings beings in and holds them on the earth through geometric shapes. Now, what happens is that when you have a geometric shape and you spin it, it all looks like an orb. But if you understand how to slow things down, meaning if you knew how to look at people and then slow them down, you could slow your frame rate down, you can actually see what they really are. So, this sea of souls is the sky. And they are netters. Okay? Now, netters is is one of the deepest terms that is used for Egyptian go-between, evangels, what they use to have to evoke in order to get themselves to higher stages of lowness. So what happens is that these netters have cast their net out over our galaxy, in order to catch people like myself moving at the speed of thought, which is faster than light, into their net. Now, I'll explain to you this, because I want to really let people understand what's going on here before they not understand something. These beings are beings of light. We are beings of thought. Thought moves faster than light. End of story. Most of these beings that say they're light, by our interpretation, are false light. However, because of the word that we're using, light, this is an English word that is a lie. Just like the word lion is not really the word for a lion. I mean, you would have to go to a place where they actually had lions first and see what they called a lion. So what we have going on here is we have an infiltration on the dimension. And the biggest part of it is people imagine it's going to end without doing anything. And every single transmission that I've got says you are responsible for doing it. Now, here's how it works. The body has organs. And the organs correspond to places here on Earth. I have a video that I'm about to release because I did some recordings of ley line work that's going on here in Costa Rica and how they bind down ley lines to control the energy. But there's organ centers on Earth, just like there's organ centers in us, because this fleshly body does belong here. It belongs to Earth. From the dust it came, or from matter it came, from matter it will return. So what happens with Earth is there's areas that are holding what you would see physically as very large crystals. And these crystals correspond to the chakra centers in our body and the organ centers in our body. So thus, when these individuals have control over any of that, they have a certain level of control over the body. And through that control over the body, they attempt to control the mind. This war is taking place in the mind. They are mining your mind for gold. The gold is the wisdom, and the dirt is the foolishness. So, what I want to talk about here, I want to take things into a higher perspective by people understanding exactly what's taking place here in the esoteric world. First of all, the community, imagine if you would really look at it, is really not that big. You can really, everyone has kind of heard about everyone now in the esoteric world. It's not so vast, but you would think it should be because look how many people are in the world. So thus, if one faction has put themselves in front of everyone because they may have more financial capabilities and they may be ready to walk around a couple circles and evoke some things to get a little more power and all that type of stuff, these groups and factions such as Ashtar Command and many others have tons of people and totally doing nothing with them, but wasting their time. How? Well, what happened a long time ago, there was already infiltration by Ashtar. And what happened is everything that they promised, they never delivered on, just like they're doing now. They're like a galactic video game. But the diabolical plan is that they see Earth as a plant. And they see you as a seed. There's a rock song by System of a Down, and we know they sold their souls. And the guy, actually, no, this is in a perfect circle, I believe the group is, and they sold their souls. And this guy says eating seeds is a pastime activity. Actually, yeah, that's System of the Down, toxicity. Okay, what he's talking about, and of course they show in the video them eating sunflower seeds and the sunflower seeds piling up. But what he's talking about is, for them, they eat souls. And a harvest in a plant that once the souls get to a certain level, they try to pluck and pick them and eat them. The first ones that they get strong on do get consumed because they actually were worshiping them. Then they get so strong they attempt to overthrow other individuals that didn't have anything to do with it. Why? Well, first of all, it's a vampiric type being. It's a virus. This is what I call the V. Virus, viper, Viking, vision, means 6 Zion. This number VI, Vi, or V means 6. Okay, so this still connects to the G. This connects back to the 6. So what happened here is that in the diabolical thinking of the not even Neo, but the Nazi Party, there was an agenda which was still dank. Now, here's the thing about an experiment. What they discovered is any high-level experiment, what you want the result to be will come about. Meaning that in a real experiment where they're actually breaking the boundaries of physics and things like that, that's what a real experiment is. Whatever everyone in the room is thinking is going to come about because that's the kind of equipment in the room. So the title of the show was Out with Conspiracy and In with Energy. That energy that they're using is called psionics. Psion, okay, we have to be clear. What is this about? What the brain is capable of doing is producing thought. Because they really don't understand how to activate their defunct bodies anymore, they've created machines to do what their body used to. And so when they want to amplify their thought, they use a black box or a psionic device. And this allows whatever their manifestation they want to take place at much more prevalent. But there is something that was never anticipated, or actually it was, but they're still waiting for it to happen and imagining that it won't. And that's for the people that are tired of being oppressed, tired of not having the experience that all these different books talk about, but they never want to tell you how to get to that point. Now, I will say it does take you having to rethink and retrain yourself totally, which is a task when you've been inside of a system that's had you in a circle. However, what we are introducing here at the Resistance is the actual way to have the experience without their blowback and repercussions of dealing with the demigods. Now, part of this message that's coming forth today is about the individuals that are ready to engage with me. The other individuals that are still working on themselves, as we talk about on the site, work on yourself before you try to work on others, this is here for you to get information. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little bit easier on everyone. I'm going for the big guy. I'm going for the mini boss. All we need the people to do is stop giving them energy. I was in discussion today. I just call that discussion. I was in discussion today, and they said, see, the thing is, Sevan, is the humans are actually giving energy to these things because they keep going and buying their stuff. They're listening to their music. They're keeping their stuff around because they don't want to throw it away because they bought it and paid money for it. So that still is somewhat of a block in the mind because the mind, I don't want to get rid of that rap CD because it's still, unless you have some use for it, like playing it over again backwards and showing what it really is saying, or doing some synchronistic video on how the rapper is really signed up with Bath, then you need to get rid of it. But the thing is that this is what's going to need to take place. And if one does not do this, now the line is in the sand. So most people say, well, Sevan, are you going back? Are you into duality? I'll tell you this. I'm not really into anything. This is what came about. This is what was brought to me. I was gliding through the galaxy having a great old time in inner space, and I got netted and pulled in. But like I told them before, I'm not stuck in here with them. They're stuck in here with me. And I'll tell you something, that experiment about that child that will never attempt to walk until it sees someone else walk. One thing about activation is once these people start to see what an activated human can really do, they're going to want it too. Then we got something on our hands. We got something on our hands now. So here it is. Lucifer is hailing himself as victor on March the 20th with alien event and alien invasion. Time for light workers to get together. The guy flipping the star upside down, he says that this whole, what's going to happen to humans is they're all going to die. You can die like a worm. And then on top of that, you have these people who put themselves forward in front of everyone as teachers and don't know anything about esoteric knowledge and live double lives, doing the exact opposite of what they're talking about. And what that's caused is we got individuals that said they were Montauk agents. Time out. If you're a Montauk agent, you're always a Montauk agent. Why? First of all, you need to understand Montauk wasn't a good thing. It was the government meddling with certain things because the neo-Nazis had come to the U.S. and were playing their games again. But what happens is that I got a friend who has already been affected by certain levels of the government's technology, but just with Morse code. Only Morse code changed his brain, his structure of his brain, and activated internal and certain things because he had to translate that Morse code in faster than the military doesn't allow people to translate Morse code unless they can type it faster than as soon as they hear it. Meaning they can't think about what they just heard. So it opened up different channels in his brain. But still, Morse code would be something that you would call a low-level security because it has no cipher in it. But they made him sign a paper for 77 years that he would never say anything about it. So why is it that you got individuals that said they were on projects like Montauk, which is deep level classification, and they're back? I was there. Well, you're still a Montauk. Manchurians. We got now Manchurians coming forward and saying, I was a Manchurian candidate and I was triggered and I killed people. I thought if you say you killed someone, then immediately the government comes to your house and checks out what the hell you just said. Because it's not like a rap song. If you say on a syndicated television show that you killed someone, they should be coming to talk to you. But just a minute ago on the show that was all connected with Mr. McCullum and Bobby Heenan or whoever the wrestler guy's name is, the Montauk agent says he's killed people before. Then we have these Manchurian agents says he's killed people before. Then we got these Manchurian agents now acting like they want to give us the next level of our esoteric knowledge. How do you know he's not being triggered? But the fact is he is. And the Lulu cipher continues. So what I'll do is I'll break down this name. Now, I will give you just a little bit of history. I just need to get the gentleman's name, and I'll remember it in a moment. But back in 1920, Rudolf Steiner, okay, well respected, okay? Rudolf Steiner had already identified 6 evil forces within the world. One was Ahrimanic, which is corporeal, meaning fleshly, devas, and one was Luciferic, meaning light. The Luciferic agenda was to block people from the Creator, and the Ahrimanic faction was to block people from even activating their body. They had to keep people physically entertained, and that's why they manifested themselves as media. So the Lulu cipher is about this. First of all, cipher means 0. And the introduction of the 0 is actually what is taking place in this dimension that's allowing people to actually lose it. And here's why. Egyptian counting system, perfect counting system. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Half, 1/4, 1/8, 1/32, 1/64. Ad infinitum. Okay? There's no such thing as 0. As long as you can cut it and see it, as long as you can cut it and then get something to cut it and something to see it, it will always be there. So there's no such thing as 0. So when the cipher or the 0 was introduced, what it did is it let people imagine that 1, there's an end. There's never any end. But what happens is that when souls keep dying defunct, they get degenerated. When they get sucked all their lives of their vital force or their BTU, the British thermal unit. When they get sucked for their energy, when they come back on reincarnation again, most of the time they're not humans anymore. They're animals. These animals are running around here just as unconscious as the humans, most of them. Because most of them were humans before. And then now we're eating them. So the cycle itself is in place. So this Lucifer, Lulu, was the term given to the first genetically modified being from the Anunnaki. Meaning that when they actually start tampering with the fleshly module, they call the one that they decide to use Lulu. Now, Lulu would be an unanimated fleshly golem that they have netted a soul, could be me, could be you, and infuse them inside until they understand how to reproduce, and then it starts a cycle. Very high level of technology, if you want to give it that term, organic technology. But not far off of anything that understands how cycles and systems work, which obviously these beings do. Now it's time for you to understand. So what the Lulu cipher is about is an identity crisis. It steals identities and assimilates the person. You got people running around here naming themselves every single Egyptian god in the book. putting their picture as an Egyptian god, changing their last name to Bey and the different Ottoman Turkish names, and be you. Now, not something that you don't understand completely and you just want to affiliate with because someone told you, and I feel an affiliation with it. I feel like you need to go and verify that completely before you associate with it, because if you're not really from it, you'll be associating with something that is just not you. Thus, you'll continue to live in falsehood. This is a part of that cipher. Now, here is what happened. If there was ever anyone that came to save the human race and bring knowledge and wisdom, etc., the moment that they leave off of this thing, they normally erase them. You don't know their name. You don't know anything like that. And then the story itself, which is just a common story of an individual that gets enlightened and tries to save everyone, and then they try to take a name and put it on that individual. And in this particular instance, they've given that name to Jesus. But what we're really dealing with here is thought versus light. Now, I want to get into the part about this of where the thought, which is now a term that we're coining here, as they call it. When the thought, not the light, got activated inside of me. So this term would be enlightened, what I'm calling it enthoughtened. When that happened to me, I happened to be in possession of a yantra that I've never seen anywhere else on the internet or labeled as that. Yantras are two-dimensional devices that evoke 4D experiences, meaning that an actual two-dimensional imprint, it's just a design, that can send you into 4D, which is to traverse time. It took me all the way till this point to know that that's what I did, because that's not what I was attempting to do. Because when you've come here to do something in this world, you don't know it at first. Especially the cleanup, as I'm calling them now. We're the cleanup crew. Because who do you think is called to deal with situations like what's going on Earth, where most of the population is pretty much fooled, and the dark one is continuing to abuse, and it's continuing to spawn, and no one will deal with it? So you bring someone who's very proficient at dealing with them, but also very nice and kind and knows how to deal with that type of individual. And so that's where the resistance moves in, and that's where this faction is still different from the normal faction that continues to educate you and give you the wholesome knowledge that you need. Those are good factions. We love them, but we are engaged here. We are the ones, and so people can't judge what we do and say, you'll thank us later if you don't understand what's going on. But what's happening is that someone's got to deal with it before it gets to its next level. What is its next level? Well, the gate opens, and then hordes of them come in. Why? Because everyone's worshiping them. Son showed me a picture the other day where in the clothing line it says, teach your children to worship Satan. That's the name of the shirt. And it's actually, that's what the words that are on the shirt. And it's actually a clothing line. Metallica came here 3 days ago and turned the whole city into demons. Everyone was wearing Metallica shirts and things like that, and they're listening to this stuff. They're proclaimed Satanists. And then they come in here, take all the money, leave all the homeless people still on the street, and clean up, and then go to their next city. Who's going to deal with them? So here's the Christian perspective. Well, in time, they'll be dealt with, and that's just them and what they choose to do. Wait a minute. Who are we? Are we awake? When you're asleep, you can do stuff like that. You can look at stuff and say, just a dream. But when you're awake, someone stops them. So here we are. What I'm going to do at this moment, I'm going to take a short break because we're almost at the top of the hour here, and I definitely want to recap on some things so that it gets clear. I even want to go over again on some things so it's very clear, like on us, it's 3 syllables that evoke 3 different beings, just as Israel is 3 syllables that evokes 3 different beings. So the 4-syllable mantras are evoking 4 different beings And when you're evoking 4 different beings, it puts you on a 4th dimensional plane. Most beings that deal on a 4th dimensional plane are of a serpentine and reptilian type nature. Most of those planes of any of this sacred geometry are already under dominion. Your letters or numbers, as I should say, your numbers are off 1 digit. Why? When you write 0, you shouldn't write anything. When you write 1, it should only be a dot. The pen touches the paper 1 time. So what happens is that now we have to reload. We have to take out the program that we've been given. It's false. And here's how I proved it. I didn't prove it from disowning it first. I didn't say that I don't like this person in this religion because I don't feel like it's right. I went there to seek higher knowledge. But one thing is I'm no dummy. So when I see something, I won't let a spirit overwhelm me and make me stay in it, even though I know it's not right. Child sacrifice is not right. There's no such thing as the only begotten son. There is way more sons than just one. In fact, God calls it son Baal, and those Baals were the Lords. Baal means Lord. So if Jesus is Lord, he's just one of the Baals. Or they're called, the term is pronounced Baals or Baals. And the reason why is because these beings correspond to the lower regions of our physical system, because as you see that the body can be laid out on dimensions itself, the feet being deep-rooted, and the mind being heaven. The bowels is a midsection area that normally has some type of contamination or worm within it. So what happens here is that I can keep going for aeons about all the stuff that's been going on in this system because I'm completely awake. And when I was watching Humans Today, because that term in itself, human, is a term that's, once again, another of their words that they love to play with. But when I was watching the Humans running about the dimension, I saw a lady and she was sitting down and she was just looking into space. Like she was gone. Like as far as she just was thinking so hard. And I knew what she was thinking. She was saying, as a light being, that she really is wondering how she got here, wondering what this is all about, why she keeps getting in relationships where the guys are hurting her, wondering why she got to keep going to this raggedy job that's not paying her, wondering why she keeps getting lied to by these people that she's electing, wondering why these people that are stars have so much money and they won't do anything. Well, why? Sometimes in this dimension, as you see, people shoot each other in the light workers that are really come here to do the work are shot in the foot by the ones who are the false light workers. I mean, it gets to the point now where you can really understand. Like, let me show you just about Ba, okay, which is Baphomet. We just call it, okay. Now, Ba is Baal. That's why it begins with Ba. Ba, the rite is to get baptized. Okay, and then their 16 crucified saviors, at least they have these at this point. There's 16 rays on the sun. Then one of them is Bacchus. Okay, that's another Ba. And then you got another guy running around here with his eyes closed, channeling the destruction, and his name is Bashar. Okay? Then you got Lucifer, or the Lulu, which is Hulu. And they bring in so much media out now, you can't even... I mean, you can watch TV forever. But that's Cthulhu. So then you got a dimension that everything is re, or as the Egyptians pronounce it, Ray. So these people repeat. They need to renew. They need to rewind. They need to redo. And they elect Republicans, but they're all reptiles. Okay? So what's happening here, I can only tell you about for a certain period. And then I'm gone anyway. But what I'll tell you is that I cannot sit here and let this happen myself personally. And so I'll go in now into these jovial planets. You got Jupiter, or as you look at it, if you look at it how it's spelled in Greek, it's spelled IV, P-P-I-T-E-R, okay? IV, what is intravenous? Or I say intervenous. made of colloidals and crystals that intravenous is made of. What's in that stuff? So you got this IV Pater or Peter. So the Christian myth goes that Peter is standing at the gate of heaven ready to let everyone in. Then you got the gospel according to Mark, who is none other than Marcus Aurelius. And you have to look up that name. You got Luke, who's only Lucifer. Luke has always been Lucifer. Then you got John, that's Oannes, that's the Lord of the Sea, who loves to change his names up, Poseidon. So what's happening here is that this program in particular, which I call it the Egyptian program, but it really goes back further than that. But we'll call it the Egyptian program. The Egyptian program that's loaded here is guaranteed to keep everyone here for a long time, like this company, Circle. How is it, and again, this is skipping around, but like I said, you got to watch it again, look at it again, listen to it again, and go from there. Circle is the largest company in the world. Now, how is it, and that should be something that you would think you would know, like somebody says, well, who's the most famous person in the world? Who's got the most money in the world? Bill Gates. They always know that one. Who's got the largest company in the world? Circle. But we don't know that. Now, that says circle, meaning going in circles. What do? They make prisons. Do you know, well, they do a lot of other things, but their main thing is making prisons. You haven't highlighted, not to make this a racial issue, but there's tons of black men in prison right now. We forgot about them. I've been there, so I've seen them. They're there. What are they doing to our world here? I mean, that the controllers, what are they doing to these people? They got a modern-day version of slavery going on because of a cycle. What is the cycle? They always want to blame the person, but let me show you what happens. Because it has to be spoken out, so someone says something. Kids listening and looking at media is glorifying crack and selling of dope. Then what happens is for a kid that's living in the suburbs, it's not accessible to him. But the kid that's living in the hood, he can go right out the door and get fronted his first thing for free. So that starts at 14, 13. It's younger and younger now. But it's starting to say it starts at 15. He's going to catch his first case. They're going to write it off. They know this whole system. Police is a Mason, judge is a Mason, attorney is a Mason. Is there anyone in here that's not Mason? Yeah, the prisoner. So what happens here is that this kid, he catches his first charge. We'll give him 2 years probation, but if he violates, he's going to have to do 10 years in some youth authority or juvenile. So, of course, he violates because this is a cycle. 1 year in prison is like 3 years in the real world. So when a person comes out, they're too far behind. Got to go back and sell soap again. And thus the vicious cycle begins. But that's just not the end. They get paid $280, almost $300 a day from taxpayers to keep a prisoner. It only costs $10 to house a prisoner per day, sometimes $5. Then on top of that, they make sure that the prisoner gets some type of medication that they all charge the state for. They bring the prisoner in there. Are you depressed? Well, what do you think? Well, here's some drugs for you. So then you got a prison full of people that are nothing but sedated because they can't get to their regular drugs anymore, so they take anything they get given to keep them out of that reality. So they charge them for that. Then they turn around and work the prisoner at some type of state facility or something like this, so they're making and doing something, and then they charge a small amount for that and get paid for that. Then you got the mafia who runs all the commissaries, and the mafia is getting into it too. So then on the stock market and all the prisons are listed on the stock market because it became the biggest investment. But it was only mentioned at the country club. It wasn't mentioned on NASDAQ. It wasn't mentioned on the news as being, hey, this is the next stock ticker to get invest in prisons. Because they keep that on the hush, but it's billions of dollars being made. But see, what's happened here is because man now is willing to net his own brother, it's allowing him to be netted. He doesn't get it. You can't build net and trap and web for your brother and sister. So if you're working in some type of industry and field in which that's going on, you better figure it out. See, this is now grown-up time. Some people say, well, I'm only dealing with what I can do, blah, blah, blah. See, that is the sign of a sleeper. Because when you awake, you realize, whoa, wait a minute, man, this is crazy. I've been asleep. how did I even get awakened? And then you better take it and run with it. Don't go back to sleep. It's like a Freddy Krueger film or something here. But see, people that are realists understand it from this perspective. So here's how it was explained to me that made me understand it. When you're in the military and they say go and observe something and tell us what's going on, this is called reclence. If you come back with some half story of your imagination and not really what's going on in your wishful thinking, it's going to get someone killed. So what you have is you have these people that are saying, well, no, everything is coming together, it's all pure. So now what's happened is you got the involvement that's taken place here with the neo-Nazi party, the Green Gloves, Madame Blavatsky, the Ashtar Gates, and all subsequent gates that correspond to that, the Egyptian connection, Lemurian and Atlantean, and the ocean of the sea, and they're all interested in netting humans. So it's now time for the humans to be like, well, we're not interested in that anymore. So here we are at the top of the hour, and what I actually want to do is I wanted to make this part mainly about the fact. And then I want to make the second part about the energy. So the next part of this show, we're going to take a break here. Son's going to hook us up with some music. And the second part of this show is actually about energy and how to get into energy. I'm going to give you the instructions for certain things that will clear things up for you a little bit more. And so we'll be right back, or forward, as I always say.
Seven. We're going to bring you back.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely forward. And so what we're going to get into now, we're going to get into some energy. We're going to take it from top to bottom, from the bottom to the top. I'm going to tell you everything that I can in this segment about how energy works and how to get activated and what is activation about. So the first part of this is intention, and I'm going to actually pause here for a moment because I want everyone to set an intention right now. And what this intention is going to be about is this intention is going to be about you receiving the highest level of activation, in which is with the word compatible for you. So the intention right now is to say, from what I want to hear and what I want to get out of what I'm hearing is the highest level of activation that I can actually achieve here. And so I'm going to put the music back on for just for about 45 seconds, a minute, and I'm going to allow everyone to set attention, and I'm going to set intention to allow this to be communicated to you the proper way, because I mean, there's so much that I have not said, and I have a mind full of information. It's like when I get by myself, I have millions of ideas, and then when I have to convert that to paper, then it becomes, somewhat of a loss of information. But the unicorn itself is a mythical symbol for a beast of burden that has wings. And they show on the crest of the England crest that they have that chained to the ground. But it has wings. And it's a beast of burden. So the human is the beast of burden. Have we not worked their system? They would love to make you think that you're working for your stuff. That was the trick. Let them think they're working for their stuff. You're not. You're working for their ultimate goal, working for their companies. So this is what we want to do. We want to set intent, which is about this activation and rising into a higher level of consciousness, because now it is that time. So, son, if you could go ahead and put them into the track of thinking, that would be great.
All right, and again, I want to let everybody know the three callers, area code 216. 678 and area code 507. You guys just raise your hand and we'll conference you in so you can ask the question. All right, here we go.
I think that's by pressing 1, right?
Yes, pressing 1. Yes. Press 1 on, and we'll see your hand raised.
Okay. Okay, so intentions are set. So we're off. Okay, so we're going to start from the 5 senses. We're going to start there, and then we're going to work into the chakra centers: sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch. Now, your sight is actually being controlled at this point from 2 eyes. Everyone knows about the third eye. It's the most coveted ability in the esoteric world. I want my third eye open. Many should know at this point that the reason why that their third eye isn't open is for what you need to prepare yourself to experience. First thing, if your third eye is open and then at that point you open both of your eyes, whatever you're looking at, if it's an entity or a form or anything like that, and you open both of your eyes and see it at that point, it's probably going to scare you. So what happens is that when the third eye is activated, one should avoid opening their eyes in the beginning. See, we're going to actually talk about what happens in the beginning and how to use it. So the first time it starts to open and you open both of your eyes, you'll start seeing shadow things and all sorts of stuff, and then it'll start making you afraid, and then the body will automatically go into another system that it has, another fail-safe that will keep you from getting that level of activation. Now, there's a book that is available on the site for free. It's called Opening the Third Eye. The most powerful technique is this throat breathing. And it's very simple, but it's a little bit difficult to understand. So anyone that needs to understand that further after reading the book, don't email me if you haven't read the book. But after you read the book, if you don't understand the throat technique, email me, call me on Skype. I'll show you how. I can only let you listen to how to do it. But what this does is there seems to be I call it a dorsal. And I know that's something else, but I have my way with words. And I believe there is a passage that goes right from this throat area right into the pineal or hippocampus chamber. And it breathes hot or chronic type air into that area. And this stimulates the third eye, and you feel a swelling. Now, right now, and I'll actually show on some videos, since I've been doing more third eye meditations, this has been now for like a year and a half, but they've gotten much more stronger within the last 2 months because of magnetic energy. And I want to pause for a minute here. A friend of mine dropped one of my magnets outside, and all the dirt stuck to the magnet. And we cleaned it off, and we did it again to make sure that it just hadn't picked up the dirt, and it stuck to the magnet again. And we're trying to figure out if dirt, because from last time I checked, none of the dirt was magnetic. But now all of a sudden the dirt is very magnetic. But so we have our notions about that. But basically, when the magnetic energy starts to get high, you can get the pineal gland open a lot more faster. So thus, pineal gland activation can really take place a lot better on the full moon. Now, crystals. There's certain crystals that do stimulate the third eye. However, the calibration of crystals for people is different. It's not the color chart that they love to keep passing around. So what you actually have to put the due diligence into, and some have worked with what's called a polarized magnet. Actually, they call it the pineal. They called it the pineal stimulation tool. And what this was, it was a bar magnet with it was a hat. And it had a bar magnet hanging off the front of the hat with the North Pole. And now this North and South is really going to be an experiment to figure out which one is the right one, because you just would have to, you only could tell that way. One's supposed to be harmful, so that's how that goes. So, but the North or the South, you're supposed to have at one angle, and then this is supposed to stimulate the pineal gland. And the guy who did the study on this said that when he first started using it after 3 days, he got up, he was looking up from his desk, and he began to see, he saw a man walk he saw a man walk through the wall and walk out a door that wasn't actually in the room. But the man was fully clothed and everything else. And this is how we also know, if you don't know now, that there are multiple realities of Earth, and depending upon how deep you are in sleep, is which one you're thinking is your primary reality. Like I said to the guy the other day, this reality that they think they're awake in. This is not the reality. Understand, more control, what are they really trying to control? They're trying to control the dream world. The dream world is the most manipulated and controlled world. It's not only controlled by your The chemicals and food that you put in your body controls how you sleep. Simple eating of some beans and going to bed almost equals nightmares if you didn't cook them the right way. And so you have not only that, you have lights, which there's lights everywhere. That prevents one from dreaming. Then they have several things in place, and not to mention once you finally get into the dream world, but there's several things in place to make sure the person doesn't learn how to lucid dream. As Quinn Vo was mentioning on the site, he loved the lucid dream over the OBE. And I said, I'm with him. I mean, I'd like to lucid sleep over the OBE every time. Because when I do OBE, when I come here, it seems like this world, something's wrong with it. Like in the OBE, it's like what we're seeing in this reality, and then when you go in the OBE, it's definitely nothing like this. It looks like outside the window of when you're looking at the Matrix, the world is gone. But when you have an OBE, unlimited potential. I mean, a lucid dream, unlimited potential, flying around and things of this nature, and being able to take communication with other intelligences that are here to bring information. But I won't say that is where the information that I've received has come from. The information that I received has come from a clear channel that doesn't have a definition of something's faith, and something that I've automatically interpreted in my mind to be humanoid, or something I've interpreted in my mind to be a thought form of my own mind. I keep my communication level to where I just need the information. I don't need the interaction, because it is definitely, to my understanding, that especially anything that I want to deal with, and being in my proximity in the current state in which I'm in would be too much energy. Meaning that if something manifests to you here on this dimension, there's a problem. If it's extremely powerful and all these different things, that's not how beings manifest. They don't deal with this reality from that type of level. And you can definitely understand why when you read a lot of the works in regards to what is going on with the higher level beings in their communication with Earth, and how it is the responsibility of the citizens that live here on Earth to do something about their situation, because they're more than capable of doing it. See, that's the thing. It's already been assessed that the human being is capable of getting themselves out of the situation that they're in right now. And it is a big part of the, if you want to use the term evolutionary, it is a part of the evolutionary process for the individual to get to a point where they're tired of being abused, to the point where they begin to learn how to fend for themselves. That's what exploration is really about. You'll never go and explore anything if you're afraid. You'll never go to, imagine, if you're always waiting on someone to go with you and something to go with you, you'll always miss out on the major things of life, and you'll be a lot more limited. Like if you need to wait for everyone or the homies and everyone else to go with you, and the girlfriends and all of them to go with you before you go and take a look at some other country or explore something, then you have to wait for everyone to make the collective idea. So what happens is that when you release when you can protect yourself, your mind. See, I told you the battle is in the mind, and we are thought beings. So this means that to travel and to communicate and to make travel, you think you're going to light travel to another dimension? It's way too slow. It's only through thought. And so, as in this thought, and with things trying to enter into our thought, one has to be aware. So basically, what we're talking about with the third eye is, with that dorsal or breathing technique, the third eye begins to swell. Now, what you'll also notice is that you need to start having a blank wall in the room, and this is about the activated human. This is what this part of the show is about. If you want to activate, this is what you're going to need. Get distilled water. Get away from the tap water. Why? The tap water can't hold a charge anymore. Something about the energy molecule within it. How can I prove this? Well, you can't add tap water to a battery. You have to add distilled water and water. So if you can get either one of those, you're in good shape. If you put tap water inside of a battery, the battery can't charge that water. So you're going to need distilled water. They tell you you're not supposed to drink that stuff. Great, drink it. So the next thing. You're going to need to bring up the levels of certain elements within your body, but you don't need to do it but a couple times. Like the homeopathy is the perfect remedy because it's very inexpensive. Most homeopathy bottles are an ounce for $5 of copper and silver and bismuth and gold and cobalt and zinc. Okay, because what happens is that the body takes cobalt, and it'll take one small amount of cobalt, like I mentioned on other shows, and store it for 7 years. So when you up these levels from this element, not the element that they're giving you in the store, not any of that, but from the homeopathic method, then your levels are up. So your levels are good. So anything that the body needs, because what you're now doing is you're flying for the first time, for better lack of words. You're attempting to leave the nest. So now you got to flex your wings. If you've ever experienced being in the dream and you're running really slow, or you're trying to talk, or you're trying to do something and you can't do it and you can feel the strain, or some people actually feeling pain and things like that in their dreams. So basically what's happening is that this is a world that has not been explored by your conscious self. And so, because once you get the dream person back under control, you can pop that person through dimensions. And every time they rise through a dimension, you also rise through a dimension here. And so we'll talk about something else as far as manifestation. Basically, what you're doing is you're building up energy. Your whole idea is just to build up energy. And when you intend to manifest, you should let that just be responsible for, you should let that be in control by something that has a lot bigger idea of what to take place in the future. Meaning I put all of what needs to take place in the future in the hands of the Most High, and it brings the information in real time. Real time. Whatever I need right at that moment, it gives it to me. And so going on, that sight. And so when the third eye opens omnivision, you're seeing out of one eye. Then you see things as they really are. All I can tell you is it's nothing to be afraid of. It's very, very interesting. It's nice. Some people say, well, it looks weird. And some people say, well, it looks scary. And some people say, that's very interesting. So that's where it is for me. And when I see something there, every time, the main thing is when I have any of these experiences, even sometimes what people will call the negative ones, it makes me that much more amped up to keep going in this, because you're getting something's happening. It's not, you're realizing it's not as they said it was. There is something really to enjoy here. And as long as and that can be something that many people can enjoy in, and that as long as the awful bit of externalization that's within the Luciferian, Saturnalian cult and Zervan and the Zoroastrian Persian lore and all that stuff is dealt with now. Because it is this Masonic faction and these people that have gotten so in love with being here in this world because they have a lot of things here and they can't conceive anything beyond, that is going to attempt to ruin it as far as any level of communication for the future generation. See, right now we're at the pivotal point where we almost are losing it or almost lost it. Meaning that the actual knowledge in itself, look at what it says in the Bible. There's one point, because there's a great deal of that book that's actually true, and then there's a real sneaky portion of it that's not, and that pretty much controls how all the energy goes about it. But it says that they were looking over the land at one point for someone who had the Spirit of God. So what does this interpret in our words? It said they were looking for someone who basically knew what was going on, knew what was up. There had been some type of disconnection. It said they couldn't find. I think they said they couldn't find one, but then one prophet popped up. Now, let's just say, for instance, that this might be true. Do you think there would be more now than it was then, seeing that things are getting less and less? Of course, maybe one signifies just a few people, just like in the Bible, 40 means a lot. It doesn't mean actually 40. But maybe one just means a little bit. So do you think it's going to be more now? No. Especially when you have people trying to make careers now of a world that's almost gone. Some people want to go and do all sorts of things, but I will tell you this, the dark matter beings, as they call them, the ones that come to deal with scum are here. And that, to people who may not understand completely what that means, just understand one should be relieved. See, I didn't know even that was my position. That's how real-time the information is, because it just wasn't time. It wasn't time for us to know that that's what we were supposed to be doing. But I'll tell you the truth, for 2 years I've watched these people in the New Age movement love these individuals that have joined these factions. Man, they've done so much love. and they've been great people. I've watched them. And what have they gotten for it? See, when I study the esoteric knowledge and then I know what's going on, I get upset because I was there with those people. They were like my family, like I blogged about. When you're a member of a church, you're a member of a masjid, or you're a member of some type of sanction, and then you find out something is going on, and then you just walk away, but you don't go and free your brother and sisters too and tell them what you found out. That's when one shies away from what they're supposed to do. But this is the case. One's looking, and like I said, for many people, they're going to have to look out for themselves. But there are beings here now that understand what the situation is and know exactly how to deal with it. There's no fear because dark beings can't touch light beings. The real light beings. But look how the terms are all screwed up. Light is a lie. You don't know whether that's the real light. And then dark is darkness, and you don't know if that's going to scare you. And you see? So when that type of thing is going on, that's, again, part of that Lucifer. It's the English language where they invent all the names and letters to explain the story. They invent all the words of the characters. You could have a story and it never gets interpreted the right way. It gets interpreted into a language that for every single word that means the word of the high power means the same thing as a dog. And so it's just gotten to that level. So from the sight and the omnivision, which allows you to see through walls, allows you to be perceptive of the geometric beings in which that reside here from that geometric level. There's also many different benefits of that particular ability. So what we'll do now is we'll go into the throat, manifestation. Manifestation chakra, what this is really about is that the chakra centers are like organs and they're wheels of energy. And so if you're using, let's say you're using all your chakra centers or all your organs, what the masters know how to do is they know how to stop all of their organs and only use one. Like I want to just vibrate the liver. And what that'll do is that'll allow me to be perceptive of every single thing that's based on the root chakra. And the dimension that corresponds to the root chakra that is actually here, meaning I'll see root chakra frequency. See, notice that every chakra has a frequency, okay? And every frequency is the dimension. And so when you know how to vibrate a certain frequency, you see that. And so that's how they change and shift throughout worlds and throughout time. And we definitely have to have, I believe, the next show, because we're going to keep going higher and higher and higher and higher. So the next show is really about getting into space-time and how to map the expanse to understand what you're really doing out there and what you're really working to do when you're trying to do your travel. Like, where are you going? People haven't even thought about that yet. They want to go to heaven, but what's going on there? Oh, we're laying around, streets paved with gold. I thought that was London just a minute ago. And that's not heaven. So here it is. You got your sight. You got your throat manifestation. We talked about the celestite crystal, the blue crystal, to get that throat cleaned out. Because people, when they curse and they do a lot of those different types of things, they lie, it closes up the throat chakra. Crystal cleans out the throat chakra, and then your intention and your behavior turns it right back on. Now remember, thought, because it's faster than time. Now, they're silly saying that light can actually activate DNA. Thought activates DNA, sillies. See, they're trying to make everything light. And then they're running around like the bugs that go into the light to the point they just fall right down. They burn themselves out. I'm merging with the sun. Good luck. 6-faced cubes. So the thing is that, or worshippers of the sun, as Masonry is worshippers of the sun, the 6-faced cube, the sun is a cube spinning on a toroidal, and it looks like an orb. And so going forward.
Well, before we move on, we got a hand up. So this is area code 517. I'm going to unmute your phone, and we got another one. So I'm going to go to 517 first, and then 732 will get at you. So here we go. 517, you are on.
Yeah. That wasn't in there.
517? Okay, I'm going to mute. Do you have a question?
Well, the jacket wasn't in there.
All right. Okay, 732, you have your hand up, so we're going to unmute your phone.
Yeah, this is Galactic Wacko.
All right.
What's up, man?
What's going on?
Oh, man, just getting to it, man. You know how we do it, man, cracking these codes. Galactic Wacko, a member of the Resistance, and definitely with his eyes open on things. He was disclosing that Oprah Winfrey thing. And, we always know the O is a serpent eating his tail, and really, when I saw you that magazine, and I had to rewind for a moment, and because he did a video about just what he saw in the Oprah Winfrey magazine with eyes open. And you didn't even have to, I don't even think you had to, you definitely need to know what you were looking at, but when you saw what you were looking at, it was, it's obvious at this point, like they're making a move. And that's why the message in itself is totally different right now from how it used to be, because now it's time for us to also make our move. So what can we do for you, kind sir?
Yeah, so I tell you, when I came across that magazine, it was I went in to get oil at a gas station, and I just looked over and I saw this O. And then I saw Oprah's face, and it said, you want to meet the guy who got happiness? And I looked at it. It says, the secret to happiness, meet the man who's got it, right? Mm-hmm. And something inside of me, I guess it's because, I don't know, I'm just, like you were talking about, like having your eyes open. I just looked at it and said, what the hell is that? And I had just watched the Maitreya video the day before, okay, with this Benjamin Cream guy introducing this Maitreya and all this stuff. Yeah. So I flip open to the page and I look at it and I see the Ouroboros symbol and I see this guy's thick non-hot or something in the middle of it. And then you could see the three H's. They line them specifically, one on top of the other. And H is 888. HHH 888. And if you look up 888, it's the number for Jesus' life.
Exactly.
Jesus' death is 8880, his resurrection rather. So when I covered everything up except the HHH, and on top of that it says Oprah talks to Jesus. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
Now the interview was done in October of 2009. Benjamin Cream comes out on January 14th and says that Maitreya made himself aware on a well-known television program or something like that. I'm thinking it was this article. Because if you look at it, and when it's so strange, it's like I'm starting to see their plan ahead of time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing that's one thing about it, that we know that definitely the time is definitely now when we're starting to see them move, because like in the Cult of the Matrix was written, I think now it's been about a year ago, and that was the first time. No, it wasn't the first time, but the Lord Maitreya and actually the Brotherhood of Ma. See, it's better to it's almost like when you're organizing files on your computer and you tie your one file movies. It's easier to do that with these guys, Brotherhood of Ma. Then you get into then you go into Vietnam. Okay, that's 6'6" ET man. Now, what this is about is you got Maitreya, Ma. You got the Masons, Ma, sons. You have the Mahatmas, Gandhi. You have then you got because there's also the Brotherhood of Mel, which is the Melchizedek. But then as you continue to break the cipher down, you can even start organizing your folders better and say, okay, the Brotherhood of M. Because what these guys do is they make sure that, because everything is still about a number, numbers of frequency, names evoke the being, the name is a vibration, it's a certain rhythm. They have it down to that science. And of course, all that would seem way too complex for the average individual. But at the same time, when you do sit, if you had a real structure of learning just from the time you were a child, basically regular teaching, it would all make perfect sense. And so I definitely wanted to I'm glad that you highlighted that, because, well, see, here's what I did. And you know what? I'm glad that you called, because there's something that needs to be said, and I almost forgot. I need Forerunner 777 to email me back. Okay, because this is how we roll now. Because what's happening is that there's way too many people out there. We need to let them know what's going on. We need to stop holding the people hostage. Because I need to talk to him about what his understanding of Jesus Christ is, so I can understand what he missed. Because here's what's happening. These type of individuals are making videos about Jay-Z and the Illuminati and all these different things and getting thousands of viewers and members, and so basically they're hiving them. But then every episode is giving thanks to the Lord, and I'm Christ's representative, and I'm a soldier for the Lord. And I'm trying to understand, and as my friend the poet says, woe to those who try to dethrone evil with evil on their tongue. Meaning, they praising evil on their tongue, meaning that you go and say you're going to go and take down what the problem is, which is just religion altogether. Everyone has to go and fuss. Why? I bet you 100% if all this stuff was true, you would still be straight if you just told God or whoever, look, it got crazy in the end. Everyone was saying they were you. I had no choice but not to believe anyone. They were cloning people at some certain point. They were sending in agents. The whole thing was wired and under surveillance. Everyone was tied into a hive mind computer. They had everyone's information, and they were feeding them all sorts of things and had all their facilities shut down. They were stuck on a planet upside down with gravity with a sun that was emitting a negative frequency. And then, Phil, you got some people that want to act like there's not even war going on right now. So that is the Lucifer. It's some type of strange program that allows the person that, although seem obvious, imagine that completely the opposite is going on. And that's why I'm so interested in the resistance, is because these are individuals that are a different way.
Right.
They don't see it like that. It's almost like I say, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. It's that kind of thing going on. And what we found is when one adapts that type of personality and then piggybacks that onto the activation procedures that the ones in which they can handle, that's why there's so many there. It's not for one to try all of them, although we do have some crazies. But I've definitely tried all of them and bought the ones that I know to be most effective. But if a person tries one thing may work, they may groove with one thing and they may groove with another. And so with that, that's really what I see as being a productive society, and I just can't see myself not saying anything about it if I have the ability to. And that's really what also this show is about, because for those that don't know, this is possibly the last show. And the reason is because what's happening is that because I got to take down the mini-boss, that I have to now focus a lot of my attention at something to get that accomplished, and we're not funded. Now, we did like Wikipedia. What we did was we put all the information and put all the work in. Like, of course, the book is free, and everything that we can make free was free. But at this point, there was still there was individuals that the individuals never were asked to contribute, so they never did contribute. But now the resistance is at a point where if it's to continue at the level in which it has to continue, then we're going to not only need people to think about financial support, but if they can't do that, think about supporting their time.
Right.
Because we can use, and this is how we know that we're going to win. Lucifer's a loser, first of all. That's what people never get. It's all in the code. Lucifer is a loser. He fools everyone to believe he's going to win and catch his tail. He's stuck in another dimension that he's been trying to get everyone to open the gate for the longest, and it never works.
I think it's worked now because this guy Kareem, he when you listen to his interview with George Norrie on Coast to Coast, you hear him describe Martin Luther King as a first-degree initiate. You hear him describe Einstein and Arafat as a second-degree initiates. So you're dealing with, to me, it's kind of seeming like the Kabbalion or Hermetic philosophy to a certain extent.
Okay, well, in mentioning that is exactly what's, again, highlighted in the Code to the Matrix. Individuals thought I was crazy when I said that Martin Luther King was actually an operative, because I had read some documents that were put together. First of all, if you want to find anything about what's going on really deep, you can just go to one of these neo-Nazi websites They have all the resources to get it, and they have dedicated people, and they do thorough research. And who do they hate more than anyone? They hate the Jew. And so because the Jew is running everything, he's the spider, they actually have all the information about them, but they had a side writing that was called The Slaves and Their Masters. And what this document was about was all the deep-level operations that were going on with certain key black individuals in order to take movements, like what was talked about in the Code of the Matrix, like when we were about to really get free, and like what was going on in India when those people were about to really get themselves free from the British. Then they send a mob, like a Mahatma, in there to pacify everyone, a Mahatma and a Martin, Brotherhood of Ma. So they say the Great White, this brotherhood is the Great White Brotherhood also. That's when they try to sum themselves up under that big title. And they say the Great White Brotherhood's always been here in service of mankind. And they're in the center of the earth. And that's also good that we bring that up because it's in the notes. Why is it important to control the earth from its center? Inside. See, the reason why it's important to control earth from inside is because that is actually where all your power is, inside of you, because we also correspond to the earth. So like I said, the organ centers, those are big crystal rooms down there somewhere. Who's manning it? But see, now the human being is, I will say this, the human being is like a roach. I hate that. It's like a roach in this aspect. If you roach, after about 3 poisons, the baby's going to come out immune to the poison. You look at the laboratory. So what's happened now is that these kids, and I'm seeing them, I'm hearing them too. A lot of people are connected with the resistance that are just young kids. I talked to a 13-year-old yesterday. It blew my mind. But the thing is that what's happening now is that it's now we're at the brink. It's actually the part of what in life we really actually wanted. This is why we play video games so much. This is why we want to fly. This is why we want to think of superheroes. This is because we have to deal with something that it seems like our fathers probably evoked in their attempt to understand what was really going on here. And when I say our fathers, I'll tell you this. Every single person has a part here, so that's why there's no color line. I love the resistance because there's people from everywhere on the resistance. But what you find is that black man's got some blood on his hands. He was the first one to make slave gods. Then you'll see white man's got some. His stuff is current. But then when you go to China, man, he's got the same thing going on. So what happens is because these are still our fathers, we're responsible for cleaning certain things up because it's in the bloodline. Because here's the other thing that I know you should really be thinking about, since they get so personal after a while and think everything is just going to be on themselves and they don't have to worry about anything. If you leave anything that has your bloodline here, it's probably going to be a problem. These folks, and it's good that I remember this too, calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is what bones. Huh?
Is baking soda?
No, actually, calcium carbonate is what is limestone.
Limestone. Okay.
Limestone, exactly. In limestone, they coated the pyramids with limestone, but limestone is bones. Okay, the bones are made out of calcium carbonate, right? So what's going on is that this frequency that's in our bones, they say also they can extract information from calcium carbonate. Like it's an actual molecule, you can extract information from it. So this means that when you find an old bone, and that's why it's always a big thing when some archaeologist or something finds an old bone, you now have DNA, you have Akashic records, frequency, you have so much because of the level of technology that's actually here and present right now that we know about. Not to mention what is just unlimited. So what I looked at was that then there's this entry, because the being in which they're using is this elephant being that they talk about all the time. And even in some of the videos that you see Disney with, he's always playing around with the elephant, and elephant is a big thing. And I always used to be concerned, wonder what is the elephant. Then something flashed into my mind about the elephant graveyard, where there's a place that all the elephants, you can look this up on the net, any elephant that's actually in Africa or around in this area, all the elephants make a migration to go and get into this to go and die in this specific place. All the elephants for however long, who knows, have been attempting to get to this area or get to this area to bury them. All you have to do is go in there, grab an old elephant bone, and you would know exactly everything that happened here from the crystal molecule that's inside of the calcium carbonate. So then a person has to say, well, that means, like I said at that point, after a million times of saying the same thing, well, that means they know every single thing that really happened here. So why is it that every time we hear from the controllers of the information, they're always playing like they just discovered something? Oh, man, we just discovered what could possibly be the lost city of Atlantis. Cut it out. You see, and this is what people are learning to accept, is to get the information in the spoonful in which they get it, but they'd rather go to Hulu and watch some comedian for his whole life. But, you know, that's just another module. So in conclusion, because there's another person that's actually on the line, Mr. Wacko, Mr. Wacko. I wanted to say thanks, man, for doing the video, man, and getting definitely active with this, and definitely some of the stuff that you've contributed to the site, and then also contributing yourself and your awakening, because I know that awakening itself is a freak, and it permeates the environment. And when one gets a taste of it, they got to have some more. It's like that Turkish delight. You just got to have some more, and that's really what's going on here, is that we have in our midst and at our accessibility something really big. Because we have the power of the internet and we are the children of this generation, we can actually take these modules and these platforms and use them to transform our world to the complete opposite of what the dimension is headed to. If we MySpace, Tweet, Facebook, Google, Gmail, Chat Relay even, all of what we need to get to a higher level, this could spread from 2,000, which is where it's at now, even though there's about 300,000 people that have heard of us, 2,000 to 20,000 to 200,000 to 2 million to like that. And that is where I set out the intention, but even further than that. But the main thing is this, before we hang up on the line and get this last person, because we're at the top of the hour, this is something that I've seen. I'm not explaining to people something that I haven't seen, I just read in a book. I'm telling you, man, this world is weird and very interesting. But there is something going on here that is so far beyond anything that they've ever talked about. Like I said, when I blogged about it, I flipped on that light and I saw that it's actually a frequency. I've mapped out the frequency, but I saw this frequency all over the wall, this design, and I've seen certain things just throughout this whole path. I'm going to tell everyone that hasn't had the experience, hold on for just a moment. You'll have one in just a hot moment, because all you have to do is, even the idea is catchy. Person is advised to go into things like the MMS and things that are actually going to get you accelerated on the activation path. We do have a couple cheat codes. But the thing is that a person really in communicating and talking to individuals that are reciprocating the same type of information that they've already been thinking about anyway, and discovering that there's someone else out there that's not like them, and that's like them, and they're not crazy, and they're not off their rocker, then that turns on something totally different, because then they know, and now we have something to do. And to me, like I said, it's almost somewhat like a video game, because these mini bosses down, and they're going down because of what they've done to the innocents. And there's millions of reasons to give it, but I'll just give it that every time I look a little child in the eyes, because they're just pure love, man. That is the real life. And so I can't allow the system who wants to give them. I was in a toy store today looking for a cone type shape so I can do another experiment, and I was in the toy store looking at what they were giving the kids. They have no respect.
Oh, it's horrible.
They give the kids things that are symbolically evil all the way around. Like, I mean, go down the boys aisle. You know, and it's like, you go to hell. I mean, and that's serious. Like, I saw Brainbender was the first thing I saw. He's one of the worst creatures on Justice League. So this is the game they want to play, so let's show them how to really play it. It's not going to be played like this. And so, man, like I said, Mr. Rocco, I want to thank you for calling in, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be talking to you soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you.
You can stay on the line. I'm just going to mute it. And again, thanks. We had question in the chat room, and this is Deborah. And the thing is, I want to this is they kind of have the same question. So somebody else named the Glenn has been asking something that correlates to what Deborah's asking. So Deborah says, can a person heal a physical ailment here in this dimension? And Glenn is asking, how do crystals help, since we already are on this level? And he's asking, where is this? Why are we coming at Lucifer? Like, what is the significance of Lucifer? And isn't Lucifer a part of us? So these things are coming together because I get the cleanup idea. Okay. And then just to add, we have 20 minutes left.
Okay, I appreciate it, son. So let's deal with it first from that comment. Why are we going at Lucifer? Should we deal with Lucifer? First of all, we are not doing anything. Seven is doing that. And if someone wants to join, then they're more than welcome on the strategy. Why? For the simple fact that on this dimension, I'll explain to you one thing. There's principalities here, meaning that there's rulers in positions in high places. It's something that's just going on. Most individuals do not need to be involved with it because it is a high matter, or a low matter for that matter. But when I look at what the ultimate objective is, I have to go to the root. The root is really Venus, but everyone knows it as Lucifer. This was an asteroid that moved into the system and placed itself second from the sun when we were second. Is it a part of us? If you want it to be, it assimilates. It's a cipher. Now, it's just the beginning for me. It's not going to stop there. But there are other beings that are here that are responsible for dealing with our demonic forces and the rest of these guys. Because until they're gone, see, what the New Age movement deception is to make a person think, well, evil exists because it's balancing us, because evil has to exist because of good, because we've seen it under a microscope. No, you've seen a negative and a positive, but an electron and a neutron and a proton. That is pure energy. What we're dealing with is thought forms that have gone out of control and unchecked. Now, I look at this as, if one doesn't take care of it now, it's sure to be a big problem in the future. Why? Because it's always proven to be. For the last 1,000 years alone, we've faced nothing but a constant backing in the corner by something that's telling us that we're just supposed to wait, deal with it, and our time will come for joy. But not right now. It's time to work. So, on that note, since they seem to keep pushing the envelope, meaning now they want to, you should see some of this stuff that's actually going on in the business sector of what they have planned for the next round of how they're going to keep making money on everyone when they're already desensitized. And these are Luciferic type forces. So what I did was I put a top on my focus for a moment, a laser. I'm not using a elephant gun. I put a laser on a target, so when that target is removed, everything that has been feeling the pressure of that, which is also a backwards thinking, which is that you don't have to deal with it. So the thing is that because everyone is saying they don't have to deal with it, it's just been passing the buck, getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And if you understand and listen to the first part of the video, you'll understand that what they feed on minds, souls, mind-corrupting things, and no one will stand up to them. Two things happen when a person says that they're going to go and take down the force. They want to go at the president. They want to go at the actual individual. You got to go to the root. But I can definitely see where individuals would be like, that's just too insurmountable for me. But that's not my reality. My reality is that I came here to actually stop that. And so that is the first explanation of why it's going to be Lucifer. And then, I'll see who's going to be next. It's not a we thing. It's me doing it. And like I said, when people start really getting what's going on, there's an intention that goes behind ascension. And if you're really trying to ascend, you need energy that's associated with ascension. So when you put yourself into a bigger cause or something that you take on a real task, you get the energy associated with that task and all the other collectives that are interested in that task. So if there's an interest in removing desolation from the dimension, and you take on the position of doing that, everything that's also interested in that, you can flow through their energy as they pass through you. So now, can you heal yourself from a physical ailment on this dimension? What I've experienced at this point from having certain type of ailments that were really with my breathing, because I started using high levels of breathing, and my body started to go, what I've been told now from my reading was my spirit was getting too big for my body, and it was causing a breathing situation to go on, because every time you breathe out, spirit leaves. Every time you breathe in, spirit comes back. Spirit is gaseous like air, and it can't stay inside the body. It's got to constantly go in, go out. It's got to get you to sleep so it can get out. So, but this is the bare minimum of how it can live in the body. And so what happens is that at this point, there is this prana that I call it prana because it feels like that even. It's like a hot heat type purr that's supposed to go on when you're doing correct breathing. This substance I found to heal things with the body when directing that energy to that segment of the body. This has a lot to do with taking the procedure of alkalizing the system and bringing the of the system. Now, Crystal Kingdom, why do we need them? All the information is there, and multiple things. Right now, I'm sitting in front of a dodecahedron communication device that was given to me in my sleep. It's shaped like a dome, and the tip of it is coated with dodecahedron crystals. Inside is a full ring of hematite, and there's a 2 million year Tibetan quartz sitting down in the bottom, wrapped with a copper coil that's allowed the quartz to polarize itself. Below that, sitting, I have in the communication shape, which is at this moment a hexagon, a neodymium magnet emitting a hexagon from the beneath, so that when it comes out, it sends it into the dodecahedron. Now, where does one get this type of information from? You can't go to school for this. Does it work? Well, I've had it here for only 3 hours after I made it, so I'll tell you in a little while. But I did make some other orgone generators, and I put them next to my bed, because I do take heavy notes on this stuff. Dreaming got even more clearer. So it was like the orgone energy itself is emitting something that the human can breathe in to charge up their system. So I would recommend, because you can buy a pie pan and make 1 million of these things for cheap, to start putting them in your house and in different areas and allow them to clean up areas. And we can get more on that on the site about which shapes to use and why to stay away from that the pyramid. So is there anything else, son? And how much time do we have?
We have 13 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, my line just went out, but I guess everything's still smooth. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So so basically, here I want to finish off a couple things here. Now, ancestor. Okay. Now, this is what they do when they take over the words. And, which is of course the whole Anunnaki thing. See. Now, the reason why this word see is so important to understand how it connects to everything is because it does. First of all, see is like a body of water. See is also to see with your eyes, and see is also a letter in the alphabet. And there's a few more C's. And then they call it the Holy See, but in all indigenous writing, anytime it was said see, you meant the sky. The stars and the void out there, that was known as the sea, not the sea that's down here on Earth. That was known to be a correspondence of that. Notice how the planet itself is even mostly water, and the Earth, when you look out in space, it's mostly darkness. So that is the sea. So in the sea, this is why there's a Christ. This is why there's a cross. This is why there's crucifixion. The reason why they choose to use this sea is all about all of that meaning. So you got see, you got on, then you got see, then you got Estor. Estor being another name for Astarte, being another name for Easter. Okay? So when they give this term ancestor, they're automatically linking you to On. When a person's using that word and say, I need to call the ancestors, you already just called them. So what happens is that this ancestor is a fertility god. Astarte was a fertility god. And rabbits, if anyone knows a rabbit, they were always a symbol of fertility because they are supposed to be crazy when it comes to fertility. They have a high sex drive. So thus, going down the rabbit hole was really a communion that was taking place with this, what they thought was a goddess, but ended up being an androgynous being. But this was, they went into a communion, an actual communion, an actual, this is what this laying on the pentagram and having sex in the middle of the pentagram is all about. So this is how they link with the source. And so when a person says, once again, well, why do you need to go at this? Because they're now teaching the children to do it. And it's not going to stop here unless someone stops it. And so I think that should make things very, very clear. And that's kind of also where I really want to finish off, because that should make things very clear. If you understand that how they embed the language, how they make themselves the gods, and then how they bring this fertility, succubus type being to the dimension, how they take the women and they make them degrade themselves or feel like they have to in order to be a part of society, and they take the men and make him continue to want to have so many of them that it makes him hurt every single one of them that he's with, and this all continues in the cycle, and then no one's saying anything, but it actually stems back to one different source, and no one won't go into the source and blow the gate or tackle the being and seal it down. See, that all was lost when mankind fell, for whatever reason, from his idea of who he really was, because it would be no problem to take care of. Oh, that guy, he wouldn't even have came here. There's gambling that you don't remember, that you can rid the dimension, you can rid the dimension of multiple of these things that should be back activated, and no one here is really activated. And it's just amazing time, and this is an amazing moment. And so most people, they're all into such lower levels of motivation. They say, well, no, it's not here. It's somewhere else. It's not me. It's someone else. You're not supposed to do it. It's supposed to be someone else. If you're talking about doing something like that, that's just too big. Whatever can do that is supposed to be, that's all in your mind. And they don't control my mind. That's why what I decided to do is manifest in this dimension, because I've always been the type of person that I never couldn't really enjoy something unless everyone else was enjoying it too. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
We got 9 minutes left, and we have another caller in the chat room. This is area code 309. We have 8 minutes, so when you get on, please just tell us your name, where you're from, and ask your question. We'll try to get it in this 8 minutes, and you're live.
Good evening. This is Gerano and Jonathan W. We're both members of the Resistance, and we're from Illinois. And we both are curious. We've been working with Organite, and we've been working with both trying to open our chakra, and we just wanted some more tips on how to activate our third eye. I know you were discussing that. We were listening very intently. We are definitely going to be doing the distilled water. I am a vegetarian, and John is working on that. But we want some more so that we can better help in spreading this message and know how to spread the message accurately.
Okay. All right, then let's finish out the show then with the pineal gland. Okay, now first of all, what we're really dealing with the history of the pineal gland is, of course, the medical industry mapped it as something that they don't know what it was, and we used it a long time ago. Now, we know for a fact that within ancient knowledge that in all the symbolism of the pine cone that they were hinting that they had some type of pineal gland activation. Then Mr. Montauk gave us a little bit more, Stuart Spurlow gave us a little bit more information by letting us know that a lightning bolt meant artificial activation, meaning that there was some type of energy source. This could even be electricity. I actually looked at a comic one time, and a kid was sticking a fork inside of a socket and saying, I wonder if this will activate my pineal, or what if this will activate something. So basically, I don't know if it's electricity, but I personally believe it was lightning, because everyone was always into catching lightning, from Tesla to Einstein was definitely into catching lightning with his kite. And this was taking them into the level of energy that was needed to pop this thing open. I see the pineal gland as an egg that's in a shell. And whether that shell is calcium or not, and that calcium is caused by fluoride and all that, I don't need to get into that far, because I understand how to dissolve fluoride, because that was the main thing. And that's really what Gotu Cola is about. Gotu Cola, natural Gotu Cola especially, don't do the GNC, but do Alpha or any of these type of companies. That Gotu Cola softens up the pineal gland and gets it ready to crack. Because what happens is that the pineal gland was timed to crack at the right point. And people can't even fathom what the right point is. But if you believe that right point is now, like Lionel's sword, which only Lionel's sword only activates when it's a time. If you actually believe it's time for your third eye to open, then you can go into these techniques and see major results. Like we were talking about the moon and magnetic energy. From my understanding of everything that I've read at this point, to stimulate the highest level of activation would be the North Pole and a bar magnet. It's unfortunate, even though I don't have to use that technique because there's many techniques, but it's unfortunate that I can't get a bar magnet here where I am because they have a really primitive mailing system. There's no numbers here. So that means that I wasn't able to test that out, but I did have a magnet that I used. And the most interesting part is I do a lot of different things, and I document it, and I just go on to something else because I'm moving at a very fast pace. But what happens is that when I was experimenting with just magnets alone, like a really nice gauze magnet, it was really the shape of the magnet was like a perfect circle, and it was magnetized hematite. And I had put it on my forehead and taped it there. I noticed several different things when I was going to sleep. One with the different poles. One seemed to push all ideas and everything out of the brain, as if nothing could actually come into the brain type region. But this also meant there was nothing going on in the dream. And then in the other direction, it seemed to pull, as if it was that same sensation of when the pineal gland is about to open. Personally, the technique that I'm using right now that is showing the most results, even yesterday, flipping on the light and seeing the geometric shapes, is this breathing, this throat breathing. It's like, I had to try to show some videos of this stuff, it's more than, there's no way to explain it. But if you read it in that book, which is available for free on the site, you may be able to understand it just from the way that he is explaining it.
Okay.
Excellent.
And hopefully that's enough. And then, of course, we have the site. You can correspond with me, and I'll keep you alive on my date of opening because I know mine is open because I actually saw two moons. I knew they were moons because they had the same reflection of the moon. The moon has like a reflective type thing going on. And I saw two moons, and I opened my eyes to make sure there was no light in the room, and I sleep in a dark room. And I'm going to show everyone also about that. You have to sleep in a dark room. It has to be totally void of lights. You need to cover the curtain. Also, like with the blanket, it doesn't have to be nice stuff. But the thing is that you need to kill all lights in the room and cover your eyes because there is a way you can catch your third eye open. And that's by flipping on the lights real quick when you're feeling that third eye activation and stimulation. You flip on the lights real quick and look at a white wall and tell me what you see. And that's an experiment that we've done with ultraviolet light, which also showed to have results. And then also there's the camera over 30 frames, which is reaping results on seeing other things. And as the dimensions get close together, it's becoming easier and more apparent to see things. I just will tell you, as I tell everyone else, get ready to see it. And there's definitely no fear because every single thing that is happening right now, if anyone's already at the level of really opening their pineal gland and not ready to get tricked to believe that they opened it and all that, then they're ready to get into what we're doing right now from their level. Because everyone's level is different. It's like Voltron. You got the head, you got the arm, you got the leg, and each one without each other is not really going to do much. But I'm going with the sword right now to one of the things that I know to be a problem, and I think it's something. It may be crazy to everyone else, but it's like difficult takes a day, and possible takes a week.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking our call.
Thank you very much.
Well, you guys can stay on the line. We're going to close out. I'm going to mute your phone, and also to add. We placed that Awakening the Third Eye on the Resistance. You'll see the thread when you log in because you say you remember. You'll see the thread has been moved up. But I guess we're going to go out with this music now, Sevan, unless you wanted to send some closing words.
Yeah, I just want to say to everyone, welcome to the Resistance. We're here for you, and send wholeness and balanced vibration to everyone. I would ask that people get active. We're going to post some stuff that people can actually do to get this message into the hands of the people that need to hear it, and also to get the allies that we need to help us with this, because we're definitely going to need some support. We have some tasks that are at hand. Those tasks aren't insurmountable, but they definitely will need the assistance of those who feel like that this is something that they've been called to do. I ask everyone to think about our children before they think about themselves, only because if you look at 5 more years of this buffoonery that's taking place right now, it wouldn't be a world in which would be habitable for them, at least to the level in which we're living at it. We lived in it personally. I've had some rough times as a child, but all in all, I've had a great world. And I want to make sure that all the children in this world have an opportunity to have that. And I'm willing to risk my life for that. Not the resurrected version. That is the signal that they want to send. So when the Christian program activates, the person is looking for a Christ-like figure so they can crucify them. I tell you the truth right now, there are individuals out right in the esoteric world that are holding many people hostage in this host age. And now, at this point, because of the commission in which I've been given, Either you merge with what's happening here and what we need to come together on so we can deal with this demon, Lucifer, and get rid of him and the rest of his juntas, or I'm coming at you. Because the people have to be let go. They have to understand completely what's going on, and it's time for that. There is someone here that knows. This is not my information, so let me explain to you how I came about it. I was always devout about what I do. I was always there, involved with whatever I was actually believing in, and I was serious about it. So when I went into Christianity, I went into Gnosticism and discovered what was there. When I went into Islam, I ended up in Sufism, then I discovered what was there. When I went into Nawabu, which was the first to introduce the Anunnaki cult from the cult of the mysterious cult of Anan, I was there with the children that were left behind after that got hurt and things like that, because these individuals, these men keep bringing these beings from other dimensions and bringing them into something in which they don't do anything but corrupt and kill and torture. And the reason why we're here we'll get to in a moment. So the cult of Amun. It's one of the most hidden cults, period. Now, Dr. Zachariah Sitchin was the person to come and introduce the world to the Anunnaki writings and Sumerian texts, which I'm still yet to pretty much verify because I can't read triangles very well. Now, because if you look at their language, it's nothing but triangles and arrows. So here's what we got. His brother, Amnon, worked for JPL, which is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. The same place for Jack Parsons, the same place the Babylonian child was raised, the same place that's been opening up the portals, the same place that's been building all the nuclear weapons, the same place that's been making all these devices, and these are neo-Nazis. Now, I'll explain this one thing, so I'll pause for a moment. Many will say, geez, you know, this is pretty big. How can we take something like this down? Watch. Because I can actually do this myself. And what I'm doing is I'm inviting others to come and get involved so that they can see what the results will be on this dimension once we rid this thing that's already on its last leg. Now, let me explain to you why we have to do it. Because it is the sins of our fathers and forefathers and mothers and all of that, high father, high mother, that broke certain parts of the dimension, bringing these beings here in their curiosity. So it's only right that if we evoked a red dragon and a black dragon, we need to put them away. But now we have kids that are 3, 4, 5 that are going to have to live in a world in a moment, and so that's the least that we owe them. We don't owe them some philosophical mind state that we've given ourselves to believe that the balance really is absolute evil can be here because absolute good is here, and they can continue to do what they do. It's not happening on the jovial planets. And if you notice, when you're reading your ancient texts and things, you'll notice that these planets seem to be the most active, except for one that always is hidden, and that's really the secret behind Uranus. So we'll get right into that. That's what I'm going to do. Instead of attempting to structure this program, I'm just going to go straight from my mind. Uranus. Now, this planet is spinning sideways. It's sidereal, meaning that our planet is spinning in one direction, and all the planets in the solar system are spinning from east to west, accordingly. However, we have one planet that is spinning north to south, and this planet is called Uranus. Now, in Uranus, first of all, the name, this is Chaldea. An, this is the Anunnaki. Us, this is Zu. And I'll show you how Zu and us actually connect, because it's really, you have to be able to cipher the word or spin the word. So it's Su, which is also the code of Isu, also why the U.S. is called the U.S. or us. And so at Uranus, on this planet, they are on a sidereal time. And this is what allows the beings that are on this planet to interact with our planet, what we would call instantly. Because if you look at our planet from a left and right and then look at them from a up and down, you can see a person from up and down can easily dip into your reality that's moving left and right. And in the event that these individuals that are on planets like ours want to communicate with these type of planets and systems that are moving on sidereal time, they look up. So they look down. And so what you see going on is that the perspective in which that we're on here on this planet right now is stuck on the ground and upside down. And that's just scientific fact. However, this has been done in an instance where there's something going on. There was a plan on the planet. Now, first of all, our soul is an aerial type being, a gaseous being, meaning it flies, but the body doesn't. So if you start examining closely and putting things together while one is playing in the rabbit hole, and I'll explain to you again how Astarte and Easter and down the rabbit hole, which is a fertility god, is what that's really all about. But when you look up into the sky and you imagine that where you need to be, you need to go is up there, or some who are the inverted who feel like that what they need and what to go with is below, and one's looking everywhere but inside, there's going to be a situation that takes place. Now, who is responsible for handling this type of situation? Meaning that the control system that's put in place, they only can delude people if they tell you there's not one. If they say, oh, it's all okay, it's all love and light, it will be over soon, someone's coming to save us all, all we have to do is continue to love, it will end. We've been buying that story for how many years? Hundreds, thousands of years. This story continues to go across to people who are inherently passive. Good day, Resistance, and good evening for those that are on another time zone. I first wanted to start the show off by mentioning the sustainer of all things, the Most High, who's above all names, all numbers, and all shapes. And I want to ask everyone first to allow me to catch my breath. I had just figured out that I was missing a piece to the equipment here, and I guess we'll just deal with that at another moment. But today's show is really like nothing else. In fact, I want to let everyone know, because sometimes we have issues with the connection and things like that, but what we're doing is we're recording the show so that we'll have a high-quality copy available for everyone on the site once the show is over, so they can hear things a lot more clearly. And we're also videoing the show from where I'm located at now, which is beautiful Costa Rica. And what this is about continuously going to the next level. See, the resistance, from my perspective, because I use two different perspectives when I view the resistance. I view myself as a member of the resistance, and then I view myself as the developer of the resistance. And there's two different perspectives, because I have to understand what people are looking at. I have to understand exactly where they are. And sometimes my mind is very far out in exploring different planes and things of this nature. And when I bring the information from what I've discovered back to this plane, sometimes the translation in itself, it takes some time to actually get it through. The situation that's taking place here on Earth, we are very well aware of. And I'm speaking in terms of we as far as those that I converse with. We are working as much as we can to make sure that that information reaches everyone, and that's what we're doing most of the time. But information is coming in so fast, as you'll see with today's show. What you're going to notice, first of all, because I've had to write down so much to make sure nothing was skipped, because just so much information has been coming in. You'll notice also that I may skip around to certain things, and that's why this, and it may lose you for a moment, and that's why this show is being recorded, because you can go back and listen to it, and things that may not make sense now will make sense later. So as I say, don't think about what you don't understand. What do they say? They say, well, I guess that's like if we're trying to quote someone else. But basically what they say is don't concentrate on what you don't know, concentrate on what you will know. So from that point, we'll start off with this. This is the beginning of the year as of March the 20th. All the different December things and that being the beginning of the year is all, again, a part of the deception, and it's even deeper than that just being the solar calendar. But we'll just go with this, that March the 20th is the beginning of the year, and this is why. On March the 20th, what takes place is what's called the choosing of the Esoteric. And this word terms to us Easter. And this word is actually an ancient word, and it refers to Astarte, which is where we also get our word star from, which is Ashtoreth, which is Venus. So I'll show you again how all this ties in. If anyone has any questions about what I'm bringing forth here, especially about Venus, there is a book called Venus Revealed, which I'll get the author, but this book is not an esoteric book. It's actually a scientific book, and it only has one small section of from what all of these scientists had discovered as far as the different names of the same planet. So they were able to associate all these names with the same planetary system. So on March the 20th, which is the turn of the equinox, there's a scenario that takes place. And that scenario is, actually, let me put it this way. This scenario is about portals that open at certain points, because the Earth is like a giant clock. And when these portals open, there is, by the elite, a choosing of the energy that they want to come through these portals. And we happen to be, in human history, on the brink of one. Although I personally don't believe this happens every 26,000 years. I actually believe it happens within the span of a lifetime, that each lifetime of an individual that's conscious, there be a portal opening. And so what happens is that what they do at this point is depend upon the energy and what's being worshipped and who won and all the different demographics and things that they're involved with. What happens is that they choose based on how they shift the Earth to the pole star. Ancient books record that in Egypt that the pyramids themselves were not pointed towards the pole star, the pole star Sirius, which is pointed to now. Before then, it was pointed, I believe they said, to Cephas or Canis or another star system. But basically, when you see what's happening now with the shifting of the Earth, this is what we know, because I'm fully remembered, which I'm doing that for everyone. I will be fully remembering you tonight. This show is I call it inner activation show. What I'm sending out through my frequency is what is to activate a person consciously, is to wake them up. Pull a person out of the matrix. I will pull you out of the matrix. But it's not like the movie. In fact, the movie is designed, did a lot of awakening for different things, but it also was heavy coated with garbage and things that we actually have to get rid of now. And I'll talk about that. I'll talk about the computer. And you just have to, some will remind me that I need to get back to the difference between the computer we're using versus the emulation of this above, meaning that when this technology was given to us, the being in which that gave us this technology had a much larger version or much stronger version of the same technology. So getting back into, or getting forward into this communion that goes on between this Earth and a few of its representatives and the stars, as they call themselves. And I've now narrowed this down to what's called jovial planets. Jove being, J, of course, is a backwards L with a curve. And if you understand sacred geometry a little bit, or unsacred geometry, as I call it, you understand the difference between a straight line and a curve. So you got the Jove planets, which are Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus. So these planets are meaning that the humanoid being, because it carries no poison, is inherently passive. And let me explain this to you. There are beings here on Earth, creatures, animals, because everything here is alive and it is conscious to a certain degree if you understand how to communicate with it. So if you're looking at a snake is carrying poison. But a human being carries no poison. In fact, if a human being wants to do something, if it just have a raw, naked human, what they're going to be able to do is bite something with their filed-down teeth. So anybody that attempts to go at this system with the same way they do things, through war and through fighting and through all this type of stuff, through war and physical war and that type of nature, will not win. Because we're inside, we've been encased inside of something with limited potential. However, more potential in which it's being used for, meaning that the body can bend the rules of the matrix once it's turned on. I will say one thing right now. This show is not for individuals that are still seeking and still searching and wondering if they're going to do anything. That time's over. We told you to stop eating the meat. The meat is cloned. What happened was that if you look at Incorporated, when they went to tag meat that was cloned, because they felt that people should know that the meat was being cloned, so they passed this bill to allow for these manufacturers of this kind of meat to have to put this sticker on the meat, so you would know you were eating a clone. Then Arnold Schwarzenegger vetoed it, so you never even saw it. Mr. Clone himself. So what we're looking at here is you are what you eat. We told them, stay away from the sugar. It's one molecule off crack. It wasn't even something that was really being used for a long time. It's cane. Imagine how something has the name of something that already has such a name for itself, cane. Stay away from the fluoride. Stop watching the TV. You're getting programmed by, at this point, from what's been revealed, grays that can't come on this dimension but only can travel through the TV with those big eyes. Stop drinking alcohol. You're 70% water almost, and you put alcohol in your body, and then it sucks all of the water out of your body. And then some people get a little silly. Well, I'll just drink water and then drink. See, what happens here is that when one is not following these rules, none of this is going to make sense. For a moment it will, then there will be a regression. And then what happens is a program activates, and I call this the crucifixion program. Because the program that, especially most people in the United States, are raised in any type of Catholic environment with those bells ringing everywhere, Baal, the son of God, as he calls himself, Baal, because these beings have frequencies that they use. If one is hearing these frequencies since they were a child, there's going to be a level of programming that's there. You might as well admit it. And what this program does is it immediately triggers what? Jesus on the cross. Now imagine, here's a religion in itself that the model or the actual icon for the religion is a bleeding man on a cross.